Welcome to my final post for this class. I am going to take you through quickly on my textual analysis of social media and crisis management. So, a little background on crisis management. This is a process designed to prevent or lessen the damage a crisis can inflict on any individual, organization, and my focus will be with the emergence of social media and how it has impacted how we handle a crisis. Normally, you would have seen a crisis handled through newspapers or through a press conference the next day or within a few hours. But now, with social media being pretty much our whole entire lives, 24 hours has turned into about 30 seconds. It takes literally no time for a story to be leaked, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter. Even Instagram has started getting a lot of news on their timeline. And in this day, if something goes wrong, an organization doesn't have the same amount of time to react as it would have a few years ago. With social media being so popular, it has altered how news reports come out and how we pretty much view the reports that we are given. With the amount of crises, increasing, it's hard to be ahead of social media when that's such a big platform, and it's hard to keep up with something that can spread so quickly. As many of you I'm sure know, Carnival is a very popular cruise line, and a few years ago one of their fleet, the Triumph, caught fire in the engine room. So during this time, they of course had very little use of toilets, and their food then became very scarce as the problem lasted much longer than they thought it would. And during this time, when it first happened, instead of news like CNN or Yahoo, any press release like that got to it, it was all over Facebook and Twitter. And it wasn't from the PR team of Carnival, but from the staff of Carnival. Now, the biggest mistake that they made was they began posting about the incident on Facebook and made it more about the company than about the passengers. Now, the fact that they responded so quickly worked out in their favor in some aspects. They had an effective initial response to the fire, but the incident got worse by day. Things could not be fixed, and their hope of restoring things just kind of fell through. So the public received information more rapidly than the television news can produce it. Initially, social media was providing passengers and their families or friends, anything like that, to respond to what was going on. And as conditions continued to deteriorate, people were continuing to tweet and post bad comments on Facebook about their experience on Carnival. People were forced into very harsh conditions, and as everything kept unfolding, Carnival couldn't keep up with the amount of bad press they were getting because of social media and the viral spread that was happening. So it's true that with Carnival posting on social media, that was the right idea, but I think they didn't use social media to their advantage. They had to realize that when using social media, you have to remember it plays a tremendous role in how you shape public opinion and then your reputation. and the public received information so differently. You're hearing it from the passengers and how they're so upset, and then the news is coming in later on trying to protect the reputation and saying that the passengers are their highest priority right now. So in this case, that if you want to have a good crisis management plan in place, I think it's best to be prepared to use social media and have someone fluent in that type of skill to be able to post something quickly but have an efficient message. Because again, you are presenting yourself in such a way, you need to be persuasive enough to have the public believe what you're saying. Like I just mentioned, the media plays a huge role in shaping our public opinion regarding any disaster. And it has a big effect on how we perceive the information that's given to us. So I decided to analyze it through a rhetorical lens. And I did that based on how the messages are being given to us in more of a persuasive manner. Rhetoric constitutes the core component of public relations. And when the CEO of the cruise line came out and made a press conference to address the crisis and what was being done, he was trying to be persuasive to the viewers and get the message across that Carnival was still the best cruise line around. And throughout the press conference, the CEO addresses the company's goal for the crisis and how they're going to fix it, and goes on apologizing. So I did want to focus on that aspect as far as the analysis methodology from a rhetorical standpoint. Throughout my process in doing this project, I did find a few new things that weren't brought to my attention beforehand. Social media and the stories that are on there spread so quickly that really any team doesn't have that much time to react, especially not efficiently. But with the right preparation and right strategy, social media can be a tool in identifying a crisis or even stopping a crisis. And the worst time to decide how to handle a crisis on social media is right in the middle of it. So, a recommendation would be to create a social media crisis management plan. So having a company-wide plan already in place so that you can act quickly and effectively when a crisis does begin, instead of sitting there and wasting the time you don't have debating on how to handle it on these social media platforms. You will have the right tools in hand to go ahead and prevent that crisis from growing. So definitely outline steps. I think some of the guidelines in there should be identifying type and the magnitude of crisis that could come about, who has what roles and responsibilities. And I think you need to have everyone up to date on how to use certain social media and what is popular out there. Maybe even have some pre-approved text ready. So once it hits, you can go ahead and send it out and it's relevant and it makes sense. And that way, when a crisis hits, you're more prepared than just posting the first thing you can think of without taking the time you need to think properly.